the typical college spring break spots, but yeah, haven't been to Sarasota.
It's all right, man. It's all right. Worth a visit,
All
I
right.
promise.
We're live talking about Sarasota. This
Talking
is going
about
to be a
Sarasota.
session about Sarasota, Florida. Talking about
Edge
the
of
tourist
Sarasota
destinations.
podcast.
That's it.
Now we're here on Run With It. This is behind the scenes of the Run With It podcast. We've got some crypto experts here, and specifically NFT experts. We're going to be talking about an idea in the crypto space about how some people can transfer assets after they pass on and do so in a way that doesn't leave their families struggling for months or tortured with all this locked up money. So
We're on a treasure hunt for something, some kind of seed phrase.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, plenty of examples of that. So we'll get into that on the episode. This is again the live version of the show. If you'd like to listen to the polished version, you can subscribe to us on your podcast player of choice. Search for Run With It. And this episode, I think, will come out either this Thursday or next Thursday. I'm not sure. You know, Ethan?
Next Thursday. Yeah, this next Thursday.
Next Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah. Let us know what you think. Comment
or
email us at update@runwithit.fm. We'd love to hear from you.
Actually, we may wait to release this a little bit. We can talk about that later. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, you guys are getting extra early scoop then.
All right.
Cool. Let's do it. I just had a bunch of popcorn to prepare for this episode. It's really the ideal food before doing a podcast interview. So
popcorn and some Coke. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. It's not going to get stuck in my throat at all. And I don't even have any water here with me. It's just I was just living on the edge, man.
Oh man, you're making me not feel so guilty about my tahini and cinnamon raisin bread sandwich I had.
Yeah, you're in a much better spot.
Fascinating.
No, man, that stuff was thick.
All right, I'm going to hit record here on my computer too, and actually on Zencastr. Did not do that until now. Here we go.
Actually, you know what? Let me get this. Let me get mine recording on this other computer too. And just to have a backup. Ready.
You ready? Mm-hmm. Great. Welcome to Run With It, the show that brings you untapped business ideas from successful entrepreneurs. My name is Chris Justin, and I'm here with Ethan Janney. Ethan, how's it going today?
Going pretty well. I'm in my sort of pre-podcast closet. I've moved homes today, and I'm gonna pimp it out. But right now, it's just blankets on the walls of this little secret podcasting closet.
You're always in a different location, man. Every time we do an interview, you're just moving all around. Can't pin you down.
And I'm moving on, doing some other podcasting as well. And that's kind of the topic of today's show. Nice transition here. We have two interesting folks joining us that I actually co-host another podcast called the Edge of NFT podcast with. Their names are Jeff Kelly and Josh Krieger. I'll give you a quick intro. Jeff Kelly, he's a serial entrepreneur, investor, creator. He's actually a graduate of West Point with a Yale MBA. Pretty impressive profile. Josh Krieger, serial entrepreneur from Boston, now staying in warm SoCal, who has launched and consulted with businesses across a variety of industries. These two guys have been partners for many years. They co-founded Territory Foods, a national ready-to-eat prepared meal delivery company using a distributed chef network. And recently, they have also co-founded Canopy, an apparel company that connects fans with what they love through collectible interchangeable patches. And on our podcast, the Edge of NFT podcast, we talk about NFTs and we talk about crypto and this topic of, you know, what will happen to your crypto after you die, given the complexity of what it takes to deal with it nowadays, came up. And we're kind of going to talk about that a little bit today.
Even though this is it's relatively early in the crypto space. Of course, Bitcoin came out in 2008, I believe. And since then, still a ton of Bitcoin has been lost, not necessarily from people passing on, but just people losing their keys. It's estimated that around 20% of the 18.5 million Bitcoin out there is lost. People don't have a way to access that.
It's incredible.
To give you an idea of the scale of that, that's $210 billion or so of market cap in today's prices. That's equivalent to Nike. It's equivalent to Toyota. An entire Toyota's worth of Bitcoin has been lost
You mean my Camry or whatever?
Yeah, equivalent to one Camry, Ethan's Camry, minted on as an NFT. That's just Bitcoin, of course. There are tons of other cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin is the largest one. It's over 50% of the market, of the total market cap, I believe. But if you include all the other coins that have been lost, it's tremendous. And as you guys have seen or are foreseeing, this will only become a larger problem as people, as people pass on and they don't leave clear instructions for family members to be able to access cryptocurrency. It's not super easy, to be honest.
If you can't leave clear instructions for yourself, how are you going to leave clear instructions for your family?
That's a great point. Exactly.
So yeah, this came up on actually one of our episodes of the Edge of NFT podcast, just kind of as an aside in our episode about Shisha Finance with Benjamin Leff and Vesa. And it was very interesting, but we only touched upon it a little bit. And I think Jeff was the one who thought we would talk about this is actually a business opportunity. Jeff, why did this come to your mind? Got any personal experiences?
Well, a ton of personal experiences, but more fundamental than that is just it's a problem, right? And we've always found that the best business opportunities are born out of problems. And, Chris elucidated it. It's not a small problem. It's not like a problem that needs to be solved with an aspirin or even a painkiller, right? Like this kind of problem, it's like addictive drug level problem, right? If we can solve this effectively, or someone can solve it effectively, then we're talking about something that can be used over and over and over again and is going to be a need for people. So it's huge. Crypto's complicated. Most wallets, even the simplest wallets, think of Coinbase or whatever, still require things that many Americans are not familiar with at all, like two-factor authentication, the use of wallets, exchanging different types of currencies. There are millions of people that are in this market right now, but most of them don't have appropriate backups for their seed phrases, for their passwords. Most of them have zero instructions for their loved ones in the event that they can't access it for some reason.
I'll also cut in here problems. I'll cut in here real quick too and just explain a little bit, right? Because our audience may not even entirely be on board with NFTs or crypto. We'll probably have a certain percentage, right? So and also let's all just be careful we don't reveal too much about our personal security strategies during this episode.
I've got this string of a mnemonic over here, I think, that someone told me to share it on the internet.
Yeah, so these seed phrases, what are they? Typically 12-word phrases, and it's sort of it's an analog to your password in a typical website or your bank account or something like that. But pretty much all cryptocurrencies and wallets that store them are going to use these seed phrases. And it's something that, people have various ways of remembering, but that's what we say when we mean a seed phrase. It's a sequence of words that you need to remember in order to reaccess your finances, your digital finances.
Yeah, I think it'd be, if one of you guys can talk to the benefits of this system, because I think a lot of times people hear about all of this lost crypto and think, well, why all this complexity? Why not just have normal passwords and password recovery type systems? Anyone feel like they've got a good answer to that?
Yeah, sure. I'll share a personal story too. There was a project that I got in on at the very beginning where it required a pretty sophisticated process for acquiring your initial investment in that project. And like a lot of projects, this project is decentralized, which means that there is no central authority that can reset things. Like when we think about a normal corporate infrastructure for IT, if you lose your password, you call the IT guy and he's like, yeah, sure, that'll be $5 and a hot dog and I'll get you set up and reset, right? But that's just not possible when you're dealing in a world of decentralization, where it's a bunch of nodes talking to each other. And basically the developer of that project, in some cases, has relinquished control of the network They may be doing things to market that network, to enhance that network, but fundamentally, a lot of these projects run autonomously. So you're really up the creek. And in my case, I lost a lot of money. I don't check the value of that coin. I completely take that coin out of my whole memory. Like I just won't even think about that coin. I won't look at that coin. I don't want to know what it's worth, because every month that goes by, if I did check, it would hurt that much more. It's like just a punch in the gut every time someone even mentions that coin. So we're not even going to talk about that coin on the show. But bottom line,
we already have.
I'm not even going to tell you guys what coin it is, because I don't want you to hold it against me later and like
right.
just drop it on my.
We'll call it that coin.
But Jeff was there for that process, and he helped me try to come up with some mnemonics to remember my password. I checked everything where I would have maybe have written it down. I went through every process. I had gone through like my normal password protection mechanisms, and this thing is just lost. It's lost in outer space somewhere. Maybe some hacker can figure it out one day and make a lot of money. But bottom line here is things are more complicated when it comes to crypto than a traditional sort of password system. And the other complexity,
they've gotten less complicated, and we could talk about that a little bit too. But yeah,
it's gotten less complicated. There's projects like MetaMask, which if you're having fun in sort of some of the decentralized exchanges, you might have a MetaMask wallet. However, there's still nuances to all this stuff, and it's evolving. It's evolving quickly. So this is a problem with a solution that needs to stay up to date. Just like
knows nothing about MetaMask? My wife, my mom, my dad, any family members,
right?
Never heard of it. So as easy as it might be, unless they think, well, I should click on that little fox on this browser randomly, if I even open that browser properly, because I'm using a Brave browser, right? I'm not even going to have a clue what that is unless I say somewhere that this is important to somebody.
Right. I this past week on that point, Jeff, I just actually this weekend, I sat down with a nice gentleman that we both know, very tech savvy guy. And I spent about 4 hours with him, showing him that environment after previously giving him videos, sending him resources. And by the end of our conversation, he's like, you know what? Why don't you just take care of this for me? I remember about 5% of what you just shared. So, and he's a smart dude. And I think that just goes to show that crypto ain't easy. Even as it's getting easier, it ain't easy.
And I think also, your original question, Chris, was actually, what are the advantages, right? Like, I think I've got some ideas. Let me put them out there. Well, first of all, part of the reason that Jeff and Josh and I are excited about NFTs and crypto in general at this particular point in time is a lot of people talking about how it's very similar to the birth of the internet, and all of the things that were going on with .coms back in the early 2000s, right? So yes, there was a lot of volatility, there was a bubble, you never knew whether a project was going to go anywhere or anything, but there was also a ton of potential, and it was exciting to be involved, and you just sort of tolerate some of the difficulties because there was so much potential there. And I'm trying to think of an example with like the early internet. I remember it was kind of like chat rooms. Don't go in a chat room. Don't let your kids go in a chat room and, meet a predator or whatever. And so it's like, yeah, okay, that was definitely something that people needed to worry about, and there were some things going on there, but it's kind of not the sort of conclusions that are coming to about crypto are sort of similar to that. You wouldn't outlaw chat rooms. Are not going to go anywhere. They're not going to be central to the future. Now I talk on Facebook with my mom in what is essentially a chat room, right? And it's totally fine. So I think that the benefits are, if you're savvy, if you kind of can get past the blockages, that's actually one of your first mover advantages in, potentially investing in projects that are fresh and new and exciting and are going to go somewhere. And so it's not all danger and, greed and illicit activity that's going on. It's really for people like, Jeff and Josh and I, it's like, it's the next phase of history, and you want to be a part of it. You want to be part of the foundation of it. That's really exciting. And at the same time,
I think that digital collectibles have been conceptually around for about 10 years. For whatever reason, I think people are closed up from COVID. They're thinking a little bit out of the box. The whole industry sort of exploded over the last several months. But the idea that we would be interested in archiving the coolest things we find and owning a piece of history and being able to share that with people without having to open another storage unit or climb up in the attic just inherently makes sense, right? How cool would it be to be able to show off our favorite baseball cards or whatever collectibles that tell the world a little bit about us and what we care about in an easy way? There's no easy way to do that, or there wasn't until NFTs came along. And so a lot of people, and I think I would include myself, Jeff, I'm curious what your thoughts are too, would consider NFTs to be potentially the gateway drug to broader adoption of crypto. And they also need to be stored and protected and transferable. So when we have this conversation about, where does our crypto go to die when we die, I think we also have to think about, where do our NFTs go? Because it's all part of this ecosystem of where do the digital assets that we own, how do we pass them on safely to the people we care about?
I think that's a good point to jump into how people are currently managing this. So I'll share a little bit of details. I got this seed phrase pulled up here that I'll read. And now I'm gonna, so I was just talking with my wife about this, and she is absolutely clueless. I have a little bit of crypto. She's absolutely clueless when it comes to how to access it. If I gave her access
by the way, that was so, the subtlety on that one was excellent. I mean, I have just a great degree of appreciation for the subtlety on that one.
Yeah.
Continue.
You were waiting for that seed phrase to come out, huh? Yeah, if she needs to access Coinbase, she'd be able to do that. We have a shared 1Password account. I think I could share that much information. Family Vault. So she has access to those logins, and she can get in and get to Coinbase. But the majority of my crypto assets are not sitting there, and it is much more complicated. So we've talked about it. Do I record a video for her explaining exactly how to outline it? That doesn't seem super safe. Recording, showing exactly how to log in and everything like that. You can just lose that. And where we landed is just call my brother. Call him. You share all the access codes with him. He's a computer guy. He works for Apple. He would be able to figure it out. But not everyone has someone like that they can just trust with that level of financial assets, and that has a technical know-how to do that. I'm curious how you guys are managing it.
I mean, Chris,
same.
Yeah, I mean, similar, but there are some risk in that strategy. Your brother, takes off to an island, and you're unavailable, and your wife needs to access the crypto. What happens then? So I think it's complicated, and your solution is not a bad option. I mean, it's out of the box, it's innovative. It's the type of thing that we do, but it's not quite enough.
It's also very fluid. Remember, you're probably coming in and out of different coins. There's new ones. There's meme coins now. People are aping into all kinds of different interesting things very quickly. Mm-hmm. And without somebody right there telling you every time, maybe a system telling you when you're buying something, take steps X, Y, and Z to make sure you're covered. Just a little bit of administration, right, during the process. And you could probably set yourself up for success with your brother or whoever else is kind of going to be the custodian that will help navigate this thing for your family if necessary.
I think whatever solution that we're going to try to build here, it's going to probably have a digital aspect, and then it's probably also going to have just a brick and mortar custodial, very logistical, professional aspect. So, I think about something like LastPass, or I think there's like OnePass or something like that. Those are really great. You just remember one password, you install these plugins in your browsers, they remember everything. But they're not really great for like seed phrases or keeping track of various crypto assets. So I think one direction we can go is, just with a kind of, just like Bill Gates said, a computer in every desk in every house, what's the LastPass for, crypto assets, right? How do you have a central digital location where these things, seed phrases or hints or whatever, can be stored and give you a pathway to finding those things that you could pass to others? Yeah, Chris?
There may be opportunity for something like that. I think that 1Password is similar to LastPass, same sort of thing. I think it's good enough. Honestly, I have my seed phrase stored in 1Password, and it's up right now, just taunting me, ready to be read. But I think it's good enough. Yeah.
I also have Chris's seed phrase stored in mine.
I'm about to share my screen. It's going right to Facebook Live. Yeah.
Chris, let me ask, where's that backed up, man? If your computer goes down or whatever, what's your backup system? Yeah.
So, and this is, I would be flogged in crypto forums for this, but 1Password is on the web. So it's automatically synced across all my devices. If I lost my phone, I'd be able to access my computer. If my laptop, I'd be able to access it there. And then my wife's devices also have access. So there are multiple internet-enabled entry points to all my passwords that you can steal all my money. But crypto does not make up the majority of my net worth. I feel like I have access to my 401k also stored in 1Password, and there's no reason to me. This is where I landed. It doesn't make sense to etch it into a stone and bury it 5 miles underground for crypto when I'm not taking that level of precaution for my other assets.
But then there's the folks like I know at least Josh and I don't know if you know the story, that a mutual sort of connection of ours, crypto probably billionaire. Somebody accessed something of his and stole a bunch of his crypto.
Absolutely. Yeah. If I had Vitalik Buterin's amount of, he's a newly minted billionaire. I'm sure you guys saw that with the Ethereum price rise. If I had his level of assets, I would not be storing my password in 1Password. I would be etching that in a stone and putting that 5 miles underground. So,
it's a good point. There is a threshold, right, where it makes it worth your while to do that. And when you look at the number of wallet holders, though, that have a significant, amount of crypto, I think there's a need for it once you hit a certain threshold. I think, and if you make it easy enough and accessible enough for almost anybody, and part of the process of buying and selling crypto or opening new wallets, wherever that entry point is, I don't know exactly where it is, but then I think everybody would be able to consider it. And even for a relatively small sum or percentage of your total portfolio, it might just make sense because it's easy.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I also think another factor is the number of different coins you own, and it sounds like you have a relatively tight portfolio where you have a certain number of coins and they're located in certain places. Well, there's a lot of networks now. We've got Matic, they're called Polygon now. Casper's coming out. We got Ethereum. We got the Binance Chain network, right? And all these networks have their own highways, super highways of information, and their own sort of peculiarities. There's another one called Luna Terra Network and Solana Network. They all have different sort of unique components, and I think the more networks you're on, the more coins you hold, the higher your portfolio positions, the more complicated, the higher percentage of your overall asset base, the more a solution like this becomes valuable. And I think it's going to become more valuable in time as adoption of cryptocurrency increases.
Let's talk about some of the businesses that exist in this space. There's one that's kind of on the other end of the spectrum. If you lose your keys and don't have access to it, you can go to walletrecoveryservices.com. No affiliation to us, but they've been around since 2013. and they just brute force guess your seed phrase. They apparently have some proprietary system for coming up with their password guessing tool, but they take 20% of any recovered funds. If they don't recover anything, then they take nothing, but it's can be a good chunk of cash for someone like Josh, who has this unnamed coin out there.
It's that coin.
That coin, exactly. He's not going to sleep tonight.
Oh, he's already searching it. He's already looking these guys up.
I think I looked into guys like that. I might look into it again. It's so debilitating when you start thinking about it, to be honest. It's like I heard about some guy that lost his Bitcoin hard drive in somewhere in Europe, I think, and he tried to make a deal with the city to excavate it from the dump, and he would give the city 50% of the profits if they let him excavate it from this dump, and the city turned him down.
That's crazy. I mean, at some point,
city officials probably were not.
30 years from now, that could make sense.
Yes, exactly. Could make sense. The same dump. Keep an eye on that dump, I suppose.
Yeah, this guy's trying to do it. I think there's this this question as to whether or not there's something you can do that's proactive, right, versus reactive here, right? How do you get ahead of this thing, make it easy as pie for people to do the right thing, to record their stuff, probably physically, probably not just digitally, keep it safe, allow for the opportunity to access this stuff easily. There's all these different things that probably have to happen there, but I think the fundamental idea is how can you be proactive about this thing and make it easy?
Yeah, I think action steps, we like to talk about, how would you get started? I think a really great action step if you're already involved in crypto is just get your own portfolio figured out, right? Get your highest level of security, figure out a pathway towards communicating things to your loved ones, get your level of organization up to speed. And I think the really great thing about having a business like this is if that's all you focus on, you could be really ahead of the game. You're going to just keep up with the new coins, keep up with, the different storage devices and things that are coming up. You just keep on top of it, and every new thing that comes up, you add a solution for it.
Yeah.
And yep.
Yeah, Ethan, I mean, what comes to mind for me is maybe our solution here is 75% tech and 25% consulting. Because every situation is different, right? And the right solution for one person based on whether or not they have a computer scientist in their family may be different than someone else that doesn't have that person, and what's the age of that computer scientist, and what's their diabetes situation, to be honest, the length of time over which is going to pass changes the nature of things. If you're an active trader versus someone that's not looking at your portfolio for 5 years, that's an entirely different situation. So there might be some customization here. But to Jeff's point, a simple solution that takes some of the capabilities of the tools that were mentioned by Chris and goes a step further and really tailors it to the world of crypto makes sense. Just like there's crypto tax solutions beyond, TurboTax has a crypto tax, widget or tool module within it. Doesn't mean that the other unique specific crypto tax solutions for the more active trader don't have a use in the world. I think both do. And what we're talking about here is something maybe for someone that has more than just a Coinbase account and needs a little bit more TLC around making sure that their assets exist beyond their own life.
Let me spitball here a little bit for a way of handling this. You create Coinbase accounts for all your loved ones, right? Maybe not the most secure system to keep all your coins in long term, but at least it's something that's easily accessible and will probably be around for a long time. Set up a smart contract then that if you don't log into our platform once every 6 months, at least, it automatically distributes the funds and sends it to those Coinbase accounts. Super low tech, or relatively low tech. Pay us $200 and you get the template for importing this smart contract, and it's all set up for you, so you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, man. So that's like a perfect example of how you can tie in tech to this to help bring forward a solution, right? But there are steps that already exist in like the password systems that you guys talked about already that help add an additional layer of ensuring that something's gone wrong, right? Before giving access or setting out a distribution. So for example, it might be that there's a time period over which you receive some communication as the owner of those accounts, right? And it's just waiting for a response, right? And saying, okay, you got 2 weeks to respond. If you don't respond, then this is going to happen. We're going to send a note to all these people, or we're going to send the funds to all these people here, or whatever, right? So it's a perfect example of how we could draw tech in to help solve this problem.
It's a text message that says, "Are you dead yet?" Type Y for yes and for no.
Boom.
Other end of the spectrum here.
What happens
in complexity,
if you type Y?
You better hope that your family likes you. Other end of the spectrum here is it looks like another crypto, Safe Haven, safehaven.io. Have you guys heard of these guys?
Nope.
Not familiar with Safe Haven.
The solution to digital inheritance is how they position themselves. They've got a 48-page white paper here. I haven't looked into it. They've been around since at least 2019. I haven't heard about it, and I've been following crypto for some time, and none of us have heard about it. So apparently there's at least some room from a marketing perspective to encroach upon their business success. But yeah, their intention is
photos on the homepage here
some cheesy stock photos, the classic bar graph with the up arrow on there for the icons, so stuff like that. So
you gotta own some Safe Haven token, I think, to use the solution, which I find problematic inherently, because what if you don't own enough, or the value of the currency changes, or their rules change, and you're already dead? So that's one thing that sort of jumps out to me.
Yeah, I think one thing that I've been thinking of is, and I mean, you're really going to have to build the trust, right? And that's going to be one of the special features of this business. And it's going to be really powerful, though. Once you establish a reputation that people can trust you with certain information, and you trust that company with certain information, then maybe there's more room for what you might all consider invasiveness if you didn't trust that provider, right? So like, for example, what if there was some sort of like a software that you could actually install on your computer, on your smartphone, and would actually detect when you would go to make certain accounts with certain crypto assets or places where you can purchase things, and then it would keep a record of that and maybe signal a message that would go to your custodian or whatever, and the custodian say, hey, I see that you signed up for an account with Coinbase, or I see that you signed up for an account with KuCoin. Let's get this information covered, right? And then just have a little meeting or send them some information so that they have it on file in a central location. And again, if you've established that trust relationship, that you are, a safe haven of these things, just like an escrow account. When I put money in escrow to make a real estate purchase, there's a little bit of mistrust that they're going to run away with it, but no, the escrow provider's been around for a while, and it's not in their best interest to run off with the money.
I take one big issue with what you've said there, and that is the word trust, using that repeatedly. One of the big benefits of crypto is that it can be trustless. And I think that the way that you achieve trust of the system is that that it's trustless, and that something is going to happen. It does not actually require a good actor or
Right.
the prevention of a bad actor in order to make sure that something happens. So I think everything else that you said, I'm completely on board with, but that word trust would be a major red flag of, hey, just,
Yes.
trust us. We built up this reputation, and we'll do what we say we will.
That's exactly right. And that's why like taking 20%, we'll find your seed phrase and we'll just take 20% is problematic. That this is the essence of crypto. This is the essence of blockchain. But I think it's still a problem that can be solved. In fact, if you solve it with the perspective that it's going to be trustless. In other words, if you have systems right in place where all of the secure information is still held on the user side or the custodian side, but the process for accessing it, is articulated through the technology and potentially through a concierge type system, potentially through tutorials, whatever that looks like, then I think you have a really nice solution there, right? How to access this information, but this information, that key information, is still held securely on the user side, right? If you could find that opportunity, I think that's where something really fun could come about solution wise.
I agree, Jeff. And, I'm looking at Safe Haven's website. Justin, you've done some good market analysis for us. Their focus now is the custom solutions for enterprises, and they're doing consulting. So I think what we're talking about is the consumer, the consumer. And I think, with every business that we've ever done together, and when we've helped other entrepreneurs scale their businesses, it's really about, honing in on your target audience. So let's be clear here. What is our target audience? Our target audience is someone that holds over $50,000 of assets in crypto and has gone at least one or two steps beyond Coinbase. I think that to me is the minimum bar for this type of solution that we're talking about. And I think there's a lot of people that would sign up for this, because we haven't at this point found a solution on the market for those individuals that can certainly work if their significant other or parent or son or daughter doesn't have an adequate amount of tech literacy. I can think of many situations where someone could have access to your 1Password, could have detailed written instructions, and still fail at getting the crypto out that or knowing how to trade it and turn it into real value. That's another thing, is maybe they don't want to keep that crypto they need to figure out how to, convert that to real not real currency, but to traditional fiat currency. So I think there's a lot of complexities here that would lend itself to a good solution.
This conversation is crystallizing for me $1 billion insight, and I'm going to throw it out here for you.
Is it your seed phrase?
Yep, exactly. Jumping, elephant, watermelon. No, the crypto world, we're on the cutting edge. You guys, inherent in your podcast name, right? The edge of NFT. It's still nascent technology. It's going to become mainstream. It'll be easier to access 20 years from now. The way that it gets there is people are going to have to understand how lay people operate, and they're not going to get. I'm staking a little bit of ether on, for Ethereum 2.0. The complexity in getting that set up it's at the edge of my capabilities as someone who's been involved in tech for a very long time, right? I can follow along, I can copy paste, I can, set up the Linux, Ubuntu, whatever stuff, but it still took 10 hours of time, and I don't completely understand what I'm doing.
But you're getting like 18% interest.
8% right now, or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty good. But if you go on all these forums, the people who are on the forums, they are on the most extreme end of, don't use 1Password. You have to etch it in or just memorize it. Like, don't write it anywhere. Use an air-gapped computer to generate your key stores, stuff like that. And I'm just like, I'm not going to do any of that, right? So the people who build the next level of businesses, the next Coinbases, are ones who have an appreciation for how you cross that chasm from the super early innovators to early adopters and early mainstream folks.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah,
we had Fred Krueger on our podcast, and he's kind of an integral piece of that, right? He's the guy that created, game software where people just played solitaire, but he also has a PhD from Stanford. It's kind of like you got to be able to understand this stuff is not going to go anywhere until we create systems where the consumer doesn't have to do any of this stuff. Really, they don't have to know the complexities. It's all kind of hidden, sort of like a Mac computer, They don't
right.
want you to open up the system of code that explains how to run that program. They want that to be inaccessible.
The interesting thing about that is
I-
people have an advantage. If you are not actually super familiar with the crypto world, you have that advantage of looking at it from fresh eyes, from an outsider's perspective, and being able to say, hey, this is way too hard, and this is what needs to change in order to make the entire crypto space more accessible. Josh?
The good news, the good news is that there's a lot of projects and a lot of people thinking about this problem. The bad news is because the tech is so nascent, and because the whole intent of cryptocurrency is to decentralize and not require, a governance structure around sort of that relies on certain, individuals to make all the decisions, this isn't going to happen anytime soon. So the solution that we come up with in the meantime needs to adapt with the industry. So I can envision, for example, even with Ethereum, there's going to be a migration, and there may be different features of Ethereum in the future that don't exist today. There needs to be built-in sort of standard tutorials on what to do with the new Ethereum. Or I can think of a coin I got that I was supposed to migrate within a certain amount of time in order to keep that coin up to date, and I missed the deadline, and I lost the chance to migrate my coin. So how does someone that inherits a crypto portfolio from somebody else know that there's a certain date they have to migrate their coin or it goes to zero? They would have no idea, and the chances that sort of doesn't occur properly is like 99.999%. So I totally think there's like a Norton or McAfee virus type of solution that does some things automated, that makes you do certain things, that updates your processes, that sort of checks in with you on what you're doing. But this is a big problem, and I hope that the audience that's listening to this realizes that we can take some basic skills around interface design and online education, combined with what we now know about best practices on password protection, and mesh that together and do something really beautiful that solves a problem that is only going to get bigger in time.
But it's got to be an easy button. I think that's, Chris, really what you were alluding to before. Literally just an easy button. Buying an NBA Top Shot is actually really, really easy. There's a lot of complex crypto stuff going on in the background there, but you give me a credit card and you buy it just like you buy anything online, right? And so I think the key is making it an easy button. As simple as like Klarna plugging in for 4 payments on any website, or Facebook login on any website, whatever that add-on is with partnerships, like something super easy.
Yeah, let's not forget too, like we have some simple go-tos that can make things easy, especially when it comes down to this, like passing things along, like fingerprints, right? Maybe eye scans, I don't know, dental records. Like there's certain things that you don't have to remember because your body remembers it for you. I mean, maybe it's even part of your DNA sequence, that has to do with how you uncover a bunch of this information. And then it's just a matter of someone to help guide you through using, to help your family, help guide your family through using it appropriately. Chris, you got something to say?
We are coming up on time. I want to check in with you. If you had,
well, we could keep going a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
If you,
yeah, we'll do like a gradual wind down here, but we'll wrap it up with an. Josh, did you have a hard stop? I forget. No. Okay. Cool.
Well, let me say this, like there are some things here also technology wise, we're talking a lot about like the digital technology, right? The stuff that's existing out in the ether. But there's also some physical technology that can make things easy for people as well. Especially when you start getting up there in terms of value in crypto. Chris, you talked about it a lot, right? Where are you printing? Are you chiseling the seed phrase into a stone? Like, what are you doing like that's going to survive a fire, right? Certain amounts of money are definitely worth surviving a fire, right? Like doing something, printing it somehow. The 3D printers are coming. They're super cheap these days. You can absolutely, print something that will etch it onto a piece of metal or into a flame resistant fabric. Right? There are things that are actually like really easy that are forthcoming that could help protect some of these things as well. So there's a whole side of this we haven't even touched on yet, the actual physical technology that can help protect some of these things.
Yeah, for sure. And I also want to touch upon, you know, getting this started. I'm curious, and there doesn't have to be anything, but any of your guys' experiences from starting your existing businesses that make you think about like what are the first steps here, to get going? Do you have to raise money? Do you start with something simple? How long do you have like a basic thing before you have a complicated thing? Any thoughts on that?
Hypothesis, and then talk to people. You got customer development right now. With a lot of people that we know that we could go pick up the phone and talk to right now, and probably over the course of a weekend get some statistically significant data, right? But we also have this tool we love to use. It's called Ask Your Target Market, where you can find your customer segment, come up with a set of questions, develop your hypothesis, and try to either validate or invalidate, these assumptions that you've made. And you'll get answers like super quickly for relatively low amount of money. You can get like 60 or 100 people or more to answer your questions for, a couple $100, and you'll have the answers in your inbox in 24 hours. So customer development, I think, is always where we start. We think we know what the problem is. We experience it ourselves, but let's talk to people and see what they think the problem is. Maybe there's something bigger we're missing.
Well, that's a great resource that we haven't mentioned here on the show before. I wasn't even aware of it. AYTM.com. Ask your target market. It's
Yeah.
literally a website that will help connect you with who you think your target market is to do some research.
I'll throw out one of my other favorite resources, which is steveblank.com. On his site, he has over 300 resources for entrepreneurs on every aspect of sort of validating one's business and building one's business. And a lot of these tools sort of are in the spirit of how Jeff and I go about things, which is iteration. And when it comes to even a tech oriented project like this, I think you do as much as you can yourself and bootstrap as long as you can until it makes sense to raise capital. And wherever that point is does depend upon what you learn from that process, of course. But it's never been easier to build technology solutions than it is now. And you have a working prototype up and running and get a lot of data on it before you build out the final solution. It's a lot more expensive to unbuild and tinker with fully built out solutions than it is to sort of test things out with a lighter sort of platform and then adjust before you get to sort of the version that you're actually going to bring to market. So try to avoid raising capital too soon. Try to avoid a build out too soon. And we might have just uncovered in this conversation today 5 or 10 different businesses. And I mean that sincerely, because there could be a niche within this niche that is easier for someone to focus on and get traction sooner. You won't know that until you do the customer discovery process.
One avenue that comes to mind for me is the one that's becoming popular in terms of free, but if you want consulting or you want help, pay us for it. So you put your code out there on GitHub. This is how you do it. Follow all these steps, and if you do it, you'll be able to distribute your assets to your next of kin with no problem. The code has to be unimpeachable. It has to have that trustless factor there, of course. And I would venture to say none of us would be able to actually create that ourselves. But if you partner with someone who is able to put something like that together, then that's one approach. And I've seen this with Tesla products, things like Arduino setups for capturing your information from your dash cam. People will have free hosted GitHub code out there, and you can download it. You can figure it out yourself. But if you pay the guy whatever amount of money, then he'll do it for you. So that's one angle. The other thing I wanted to come back to, steveblank.com, you know that this guy is legit because he's running like a WordPress 2009 theme, and he is just, rocking it proudly. So he is old school.
Go down the rabbit hole, man. It is an amazing, amazing one to go down.
I think that is a true sign. Like if you can have an intense following and still have like a web, like just a basic HTML website, with text only on it, that's a really sign of a knowledgeable OG.
I would say that more than any book, any other website, I have personally gone to that website more times than any other website around entrepreneurship over the last 10 years. And I've referred more people to that website than any other website. And people don't know about it. I hope everyone that's listening checks it out. There is just so much good stuff on his resource list for all of us.
I literally forced Josh, as I was trying to rope him away from the world of consulting into entrepreneurship, forced him to go to a lean startup weekend specifically for that reason. And all that information in there is like enough for a lifetime. There's like no question about it.
That's a great resource. We'll include that in the show notes.
Yeah. And, just to give you an idea of what that kind of procedure is going to get you, Territory Foods, the headline for Crunchbase News here, Territory Foods serves up $22 million Series B to expand meal delivery. And these guys have the time to get on a podcast with us at the same time. So they know what they're talking about, getting a business going. So
yeah, while we're talking about that, tell us a little bit more about your projects.
Well, really, our primary, focus right now is building out what we're doing with the Edge of NFT. There's so many opportunities in NFT. It's so nascent right now. Like there is so much opportunity to grow in ways that the public isn't thinking about. It's not just the sexy stuff that we see every day, even though it's fun and we're in there buying, NBA Top Shots and all that stuff, just like anybody. But there's so much more. And if you listen to the podcast, you'll get some insights from these amazing guests that are building things that are going to be here 3, 5, 10 years down the road. And we're putting tons of time and energy into helping to find those people, unearth the insights from them. And then, I don't know. I mean, we're pretty into this. Like we may end up launching something in the NFT space.
Yeah. So Chris, appreciate you allowing us to have an open relationship with Ethan in terms of cross podcastination. But
Ethan only has open relationships. Sorry, Christy.
Hopefully that has nothing to do with procrastination.
I think the thing that's so interesting about NFTs for me is how it crosses the business to business side, and the consumer side in terms of the use cases. And there's just so much for us to unpack. Every guest that's been on the show has left us sort of, dreaming about their thoughts on NFTs and where it can go. And we've only unpacked in like 7 or 8 shows, a small percentage of the possible use cases. When you think about agriculture and consumer retail, we have a guest coming on this week to talk about NFTs in fashion. There's of course the digital art side, but there's also animation and holographic NFTs. And you really got to think of an NFT as like a mini supercomputer that you can program to do anything. And what would you do if you could do that? You would apply it to everything from memberships and club passes to loyalty programs. It gets really exciting to think about what you can cook up in this industry. And we're just excited to talk to leaders in the space and help them unpack what might be possible for our audience. And we seem to have attracted a really interesting audience of folks that might not have even, may not even have a Coinbase account per se, but there's something about NFTs that has captured their attention.
Yeah, and it's the type of guest that we're having, really fascinating folks. Like I mentioned Fred Krueger before, we just talked to him. He basically invented layers in Photoshop, was offered to be the first investor in Salesforce, but missed his opportunity by a couple of days when Larry Ellison beat him to it. Yeah, basically, and Rich Lotlakar, who we just had, has founded Superworld, who's kind of a digital nomad, who's been in entertainment and video games, doing all this really cool stuff. And these people have been into it for years. Like, they're not just riding the trend. So they're super smart folks who are really long on, not just crypto, but NFTs in particular. And a lot of people thinking that it's even bigger than crypto. Yeah. I mean, even bigger than like cryptocurrency. Yeah.
Well,
not Charlie Munger who just hosted the annual. Did you guys see the annual
Berkshire
meeting of Berkshire shareholders? Yeah, that's
no.
pretty.
What do you say?
I think our next conversation, guys, needs to be on how to NFT your life.
Oh, it's happening. It's happening. It's what has been all around us right now.
Well, guys, it's been a lot of fun chatting with you. Thanks for fleshing out this idea here on the Run With It podcast. To the listener, go check out Edge of NFT. You want to learn more about NFTs in the crypto world in general. It's a great resource. And yeah, guys, great to meet you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Catch you later on.
So much fun. Really appreciate it, guys.
Thanks so much for having us, guys.
Take care.
Great. All right, cool. So I'll sign us off the live streams and we'll just make sure we stop the recording on Zencastr, right?
Yeah, I got that coming up. So